Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. Tragedy at a racetrack in Steuben County over the weekend. Veteran racer Art Goodyear suffered a heart attack while driving at the Woodhull Raceway on Saturday. He lost control of his car and accidentally struck corner flagger Neil Stoddard. EMTs responded to the two victims of the crash while waiting for ambulances and a medevac helicopter to arrive. Both were transported to the hospital. Goodyear was pronounced dead of the heart attack later that night, with Stoddard in critical condition, but he is stable, we're told. Another decision day at the Supreme Court today after the justices rule on religious rights. This as states and citizens are weighing their options after that seismic abortion ruling on Friday. Caroline Shively breaks it all down for us from Washington.
Begin to pray for favor upon their life.
Outside the Supreme Court Monday, a much more peaceful scene than Friday's protest of the court overturning Roe v. Wade. Hallelujah! But the High Court has already moved on, dropping another round of decisions, including one that expanded the religious rights of government employees by ruling in favor of a former high school football coach who was told to stop praying at midfield after games.
The court says that what the coach did in this case was clearly private speech, not subject to this type of regulation.
Monday's calm comes after a weekend of coast-to-coast demonstration protesting Friday's decision overturning Roe v. Wade. Most were peaceful, but in Portland, Oregon, rioters vandalized several buildings on Saturday, including one that read, "Kill the Supreme Court." Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now calling for some justices to be impeached.
The Supreme Court has dramatically overreached its authority.
These constitutional anarchists like AOC have to be dealt with, and there will be a backlash against this effort to intimidate our judges.
Democrats hope this pushes their voters to the polls. In President Biden's words, Roe is on the ballot. Outside the Supreme Court, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
In Horseheads, owners of an alpaca farm are trying to make the farm a tourist destination in the southern tier. Our Josh Feldberg reports that getting up close with the cute creatures isn't the only thing the farm has to offer.
It's called Hidden Alpaca Farm, and some visitors call it a hidden gem of the southern tier. The alpaca farm is just off Route 13 in Horseheads and is home to nearly 20 alpacas.
Some farms don't do visitation. They're more of a commercial farm. I just like to educate families on the animals.
The Hidden Alpaca Farm is open for appointment tours from May 1st to October 31st, but you can check out the farm without a tour during an open house set for September 24th. The farm also has a gift shop that sells alpaca-related merchandise such as socks, hats, yarn, and gloves.
Alpacas only came to the United States in the 1980s. Since they aren't native to North America, they can only mainly be found at farms like Hidden Alpaca Farms. This is the only farm in a 30-mile radius where you can visit, walk among, and feed the alpacas. They are also working on training the alpacas to do an obstacle course. This farm also features roosters, a fish pond, and 2 adorable guard dogs.
Hidden Alpaca Farm doesn't charge for their tours. Instead, they have a donation box where you can donate as much as you would like for the tour. You can also volunteer to work at the farm if you fall in love with the alpacas.
They're a very peaceful, quiet animal, very easy to take care of.
Spending time with these alpacas was fun while it lasted. If you want to meet the alpacas yourself, you can find Hidden Alpaca Farm on East Vargo Road. Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Horseheads.
If you plan to head to the Chemung County Fair later this year, you'll have a new way to buy tickets. This year will be the 180th anniversary of the fair that will take place from August 2nd to the 7th. For the first time, you can buy tickets for the event online. All you have to do is go to the event website, which is chemungcountyfair.com. This year's tickets to the fair will be sold online only. This year's fair will feature demolition derbies, horse shows, East Coast Professional Wrestling's Slam Fest, and a concert by Queen Nation. You can see the full lineup of shows and other events at this year's fair at the Chemung County Fair website. Now to the latest from Ukraine. Russian forces launching new strikes on the nation's capital. The strikes come as G7 leaders meet in Germany. Nate Foy has more.
Long-range Russian missiles hit Kyiv for the first time in 3 weeks. Ukrainian officials say one person was killed. At least 6 are hurt, including a 7-year-old girl and her mother. The strikes hit an apartment complex and playground outside a kindergarten. First responders rushed into the rubble looking for survivors.
Russia itself decided that everything was equally hostile to them now. Women, children, kindergartens, apartment buildings, hospitals, railways.
The strike's an apparent show of force as Western leaders meet for the G7 summit in Germany. Today, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke over video, saying his country needs to gain leverage over Russia. G7 leaders are pledging their support, announcing plans for more sanctions, including a price cap on Russian oil.
The G7 supporters of Ukraine around the world have to continue to help the Ukrainians to rebuild their economy, to get their grain out.
The United States is reportedly preparing to send more weapons to Ukraine, including an anti-aircraft system that would provide medium to long-range defense. The package also is expected to include additional ammunition for Ukrainian artillery.
The real impact on Russia is going to come from our continuing to provide them weapons and to do what's really going to get to Putin.
President Zelensky told G7 leaders he wants the war to be over by winter before fighting conditions become more difficult. Reporting in Lviv, Ukraine, I'm Nate Foy, Fox News.
Brittany Griner's criminal trial date in Russia has been set for July 1st after she appeared in court today for a preliminary hearing. The court also extended her detention in Russia for another 6 months. The American basketball star was arrested at a Moscow airport in February 2022 for alleged cannabis possession. Griner could face 10 years in prison if found guilty of drug transportation charges. Fewer than 1% of defendants in Russia are acquitted of criminal charges. Traveling by plane this upcoming holiday weekend? It could be a bumpy ride. Lydia Hugh has more from Newark Liberty International Airport.
American travelers facing rising flight cancellations and delays ahead of the July 4th holiday weekend. The TSA screening more than 2.4 million people across the country on Sunday, the highest checkpoint volume since February of 2020. But those travelers were met with more than 1,500 flight cancellations and more than 12,000 delays over the weekend.
Those are thousands of flights being disrupted. This is not the norm.
Airlines placing the blame on the Federal Aviation Administration. Trade group Airlines for America requesting a meeting with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, looking to discuss air traffic controllers' staffing, as they claim a key traffic control center in Jacksonville, Florida, has been understaffed for 27 of the last 30 days.
If you can't control what's going on in the skies, how do we get planes around this country?
The FAA pushing back, saying after receiving $54 billion in pandemic relief to help save the airlines from mass layoffs and bankruptcy, the American people deserve to have their expectations met. They also say they've added additional controllers and alternate routes. But some pilots are blaming the airlines, accusing them of overscheduling when they don't have enough staff.
We can decrease that margin of underperformance, but it's not going to get done unless they talk with us.
AAA expects more than 3.5 million people to fly over this July 4th holiday weekend. At Newark Liberty International Airport, Lydia Hu, Fox Business.
Your complete workweek forecast is next. Plus, Pride celebrations continue across the country amid civil rights concerns. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, it was a dry and warm start to the weekend, but then we ended off on a cooling note. Now, temperatures still were able to climb into the 90s for your Sunday, but we did accumulate just under 0.2 of an inch there for accumulation. Even through the early morning hours with some of that fog and that mist, we added on just a few hundredths of an inch. So overall, about 1/4 of an inch from yesterday or overnight system, which we are still working out of some of that rainfall and cloud cover. But what we look at for precipitation is we are going to end the month of June off this week. When we look at precipitation accumulation, population. Binghamton as well as Syracuse looking at around average precipitation totals, but you are seeing more of those green highlights here towards the Elmira and Corning area. Some highlights of red, so we're on that line of near average but slightly below average, especially as you look at some of those numbers more off to the north of us, where we typically should be seeing upwards of 4 inches of rainfall just in the month of June. Now there is some drier weather with some showers in the forecast, but we'll detail all that here in a moment. As we work through the day today, we did see some more areas of sunshine, still had some more of those cumulus clouds moving through. Most shower activity did stay off to the north of us into the afternoon, and what we're going to see through the overnight is the continuous of those clearing skies. Now we have that west-northwesterly wind, so it is going to bring a cool, comfortable morning as temperatures are expected to fall out of the 60s that we saw for highs today, all the way into the 50s and the 40s. Even Elmira and Corning looking at 49 to 48 degrees, so a little bit cooler, but the good news is that we do have that sunshine that's going to be abundant through your Tuesday, bringing those temperatures back up to at least a seasonal trend. Now through the week there will be some gradual warming, with the warmest day to come later into the week, looking Thursday to Friday, as that's when some changes will arrive. But for much of the week we are going to stay fairly quiet, more sunshine than not. There might be some isolated thunder dimension on Wednesday, but right now that is looking less likely, with the better chance for some showers to come on Friday. But behind that, it is a cold front that's bringing that better chance for some showers and thunderstorms, so that does mean that the weekend, which is the holiday weekend, could bring in some cooler and rainier conditions. But we'll keep an eye on that extended forecast. What we have setting up, at least for your Tuesday, 77 in Elmira, as well as into Decorah, into those Finger Lakes, you're looking at those low 70s. So below that average of 82 degrees, but with the sunshine and those low dew points, it should still feel very comfortable to get outdoors. By Wednesday, we take those temperatures towards that average marker, 82 degrees in Elmira, so just on the nose there. Now you're seeing that thunderstorm icon. Very isolated threat, but we're going to keep it in the forecast for now, and it's going to be late Wednesday into the overnight hours. As we look at dew point values, when it comes to the comfortability of some of the summertime sunshine, it looks like for the most part, the early part of the week looking very fantastic. Later into the week, though, you do watch those dew points start to climb, and that's when we're going to talk about some changes in the forecast. As you hit 90 on Friday, not going to be too humid, but definitely warm under that sunshine, but then there's that frontal system that knocks those temperatures down into the 80s, but that dew point value does mean that we could be tracking some storms on Saturday before we'll have a cool 4th of July.
For more than 50 years, June has marked Pride Month, but advocates say this year strikes a different tone, citing how behind the cheers and flag waving lies fear and uncertainty. Ted Lindner has a look at how a Supreme Court justice's recent comments on same-sex marriage is generating panic instead of pride.
Across the country, some of the nation's largest pride celebrations are reigniting calls for acceptance, as thousands gathered this weekend in New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, and beyond for the festivities. But for the LGBTQ+ community, Pride is more than a celebration. It's a chance to honor the progress made since the Stonewall riots back in June of 1969 helped launch the gay rights movement, while continuing calls for equality.
Given the state of current affairs and human rights and civil liberties that are being severely curtailed, this is exactly what we need to come out for.
And this year, advocates say those calls need to be deafening after Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas suggested that the High Court reconsider its rulings on same-sex relationships and marriages after the court's conservative majority struck down Roe v. Wade on Friday.
Together.
And while it's unclear how much traction Justice Thomas's comments will gain in the High Court, members of the queer community say now is the time to ramp up their visibility.
If they don't know that we exist and that we're here, they're going to be like, oh, well, there's no gay people here. So if we can pass these laws, it doesn't really affect anybody.
Meanwhile, as the nation waits to see what the Supreme Court does next, the Biden administration continues urging Congress to pass the Equality Act to increase federal civil rights protections for the queer community.
Temperatures aren't the only thing on the rise this summer. The mosquito population is also expected to boom. Ashley Stromier has more on what health and wildlife officials say is behind the swarm.
Have you heard the buzz? Mosquito season is ramping up, but if you feel like you're swatting away a lot more pests than this time last year, you may not be alone.
We'll go outside and play. It's our favorite thing to do in the summer, and they come back inside and they're just covered with bites.
Rising temperatures and rainfall levels due to climate change are creating the perfect conditions for mosquitoes to start reproducing earlier and for longer periods of time.
There is a change in the distribution of rain, not just in the United States, but in the entire world. So some areas are decreasing in precipitation. Some other areas are increasing in precipitation.
And the situation may only continue getting worse, with data collected by the United Nations showing 2021 was one of the 7 warmest years on record.
The warmer winters means that there are more mosquitoes than the following year.
And while more mosquitoes may be annoying, it can also spell out serious health risks. The CDC lists the mosquito as the world's deadliest animal because of its ability to spread malaria and other diseases, like West Nile, which can cause body aches, and Triple E, which can cause deadly brain swelling in serious cases.
The fear of being bitten by mosquitoes should not keep you from going outside. It's just that you need to dress properly.
And that includes
wear long sleeves, long pants if you're going to be outside for an extended period of time. Use mosquito repellent. Get rid of standing water in your area.
Common areas in your yard that could collect standing water include the inside of empty tires and bird baths. Officials say you should make sure to dump these out frequently.
Still ahead, AT&T and Verizon raising the cost of plans due to inflation, and Social Security giving a boost in benefits. Stay with us. Costco recalls more than 400,000 patio umbrellas. Your phone bill could be going up, and the hot new hotel in the sky that's creating a big buzz. Lydia Hugh has more in today's Business Briefs.
A consumer alert. Costco recalling a popular patio umbrella over a fire risk, recalling 400,000 patio umbrellas due to a malfunction that can cause them to burst into flames. This following several reports of the umbrella's lithium batteries overheating. The 10-foot solar LED market umbrellas with LED lights can be returned to Costco immediately. Costco also dropping a perk for New Jersey residents. Beginning July 5th, drivers must have a Costco membership card if they want to fill up their gas tanks. Your phone bill may be heading higher thanks to all the rising inflation. AT&T and Verizon are raising prices. This month, AT&T raised the cost of its older wireless plans by up to $6 for single lines, $12 for family plans. Verizon then matched the increase on its metered data plans and raised monthly fees on some wireless plans. And finally, book your hotel room in the sky. Welcome to Sky Cruise. This aircraft is just in concept mode now, but it's designed with 20 nuclear-powered engines and piloted by AI. Restaurants, movie theaters, shopping, and more is all on board, so the 5,000-plus passengers can stay on for months at a time if they wish. For more stories, log on to foxbusiness.com.
A huge heist hits a company with a cryptocurrency blockchain bridge. Hackers stole about $100 million in value from Harmony, a cryptocurrency company that makes transactions through a digital bridge that connects different blockchains together, such as Bitcoin or Ethereum. Harmony says it stopped its bridge and notified other exchanges. Harmony is also involving the FBI and cybersecurity firms to investigate one account that's thought to be behind the theft. Cryptocurrency is unregulated and has no asset protections. While Social Security beneficiaries may get more in their checks, others supporting the system may also feel effects. Those who get Social Security checks have already seen an almost 6% inflation boost this year, but other changes might be coming as well. The taxable wage base is likely to go up next year, meaning high earners pay more Social Security taxes. However, that also means more earnings are credited to their benefits later, and the limits of how much you earn before benefits reduction happens will likely go up too. Stay with us, we'll have more after the break.
Here we go. The ugliest dog in the world, Mr. Happy Face.
We want to leave you with a smile. The world's ugliest dog contest returns after a hiatus due to the pandemic. The 2022 winner is Mr. Happy Face, who won over the judges and the crowd with his crooked head, gray mohawk, and hairless, pimple-ridden body, along with his awkward hobble and snort-like breathing. The world's ugliest dog took place in Petaluma, California on Friday. His owner is very excited about the win. Mr. Happy Face, who I think is just adorable actually, and his owner, well, they came from Flagstaff, Arizona to participate in this event. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. I'm Anna Manuel. We hope you have a great rest of your day.